Imagine having to choose between love and healthcare. This is the reality of so many Americans, including a woman named Susan. Susan was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 4, which rendered her inability to work throughout her whole entire life. She can barely move her fingers, she can barely walk, she has to use a cane just to sit up and sit down. She was married, and she was absolutely in love. She loves her husband so much, and it's Valentine's Day, their anniversary, 3 years into their marriage. And she sits next to him, all choked up, waiting for the words divorce to leave her mouth. She doesn't want to do this by choice, but that same day she was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And she knew that her husband's raise from that prior week, including the lack and indefensibility of her having her care from the government, meant that she had to divorce her husband so she can save her life. This is the reality of so many Americans with disability. There are 65 million Americans on disability, and 1.1 million of them have gotten divorced between 2008 and 2018, and only 590,000 have gotten married. Compared to the 1.5 million non-disabled people who got divorced and the 5.2 million that got married. As you can see here, literally there's twice as many people getting divorced than getting married in the United States right now who have disabilities. And this is just an example of showing how there is discrimination against people that have disabilities when they don't want to get married. People, when they get married and when they have disabilities, risk having their benefits reduced or completely taken away. As somebody who is going into family law, I am very familiar with the readings beyond Social Security care and benefits going to children and going to other family members when people pass away or get too sick to take care of themselves and others. I'm here to tell you that people with disabilities deserve equal marital rights. Can you imagine not being able to marry the person you love because it means you not being able to get your health care? 2 people, when they're on SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, which is a federally funded program from the Social Security Administration. So essentially, SSI provides benefits to people by figuring out how much money you have and giving you the right amount of benefits that go with it. So if 2 people are married and they have SSI insurance, they essentially lose 25% of that indefinitely. So, and this even includes not even being married. So if the Social Security Administration finds that you are close enough, like if you're living with your boyfriend and you live with them long enough, or you're living with your girlfriend long enough, they will take your disability away or reduce it, even though you're not even married. And this is reported by several different people. There's a man named John Statsio with the University of Minnesota that is advocating for people, talking about how people are having their disabilities taken away just because they're married. There's also a reserve limit for people, whether they're single or married, on disability. So resources are essentially money that can be turned into cash. So like think bonds and cash that you have in the bank and that kind of stuff. If you're single, that cannot exceed $2,000, and if you're married, $3,000. So that means if you have a savings account and you have $3,000 and 1 penny and you're married, that means you have all of your benefits taken away. And that's the reality of so many people. Eligibility for SSI equals the eligibility for Medicaid. They have the same parameters of whether or not you qualify for it. So if you don't qualify for SSI, you don't qualify for Medicaid, which takes away so much medical care that people need, like Susan. To qualify for SSI, you typically have to be over 65 years old, you have to either or be blind, or you have to fulfill the Social Security Administration's definition of being disabled, which includes not being able to work in your prior job and not being able to adjust to work because of your medication or your treatment. And the disability has to last for a year or longer. And people getting married lose risk in having their benefits if the status changes ever so slightly. There's obviously so many discrepancies in SSI and Social Security Administration and disability benefits. Anyone can acknowledge that getting married doesn't make disability go away, and it doesn't make it cheaper either. And there's people suffering because of this, and they're choosing to end their marriages or to not get married at all to the people they love because of it. And there's so much we can do to help. We can support legislation that's currently being debated in the House of Representatives right now. So in the beginning of 2019, there was a bill introduced called the Marriage Equality Act of 2019. It was introduced to amend things that would fix Social Security and provide equal access to people that are married. Specifically, it amends Article 2 of the Social Security Administration to consolidate provisions for spousal insurance benefits for a single standard, which in normal people words, that means that both people can keep their benefits if they get married if they have disability, or if somebody's just a single person with a disability, they get to keep their benefits indefinitely unless they reach a threshold of being wealthy. There's so much that we can do to support this legislation. You can write to your senator or your local representatives. You can post on social media demanding that this needs to change. But the most important thing we can do is to provide voices. Talk to people. If you know somebody with a disability, ask them about it. Ask them their story. Because all you can know is that they used to have somebody that they love, but they had to choose to give them up purely because they wouldn't be able to afford it. Now we know all about this. It's a true issue. Why are we letting these discrepancies, this discrimination against people with disabilities? We see that SSI is not working. We see the Social Security Administration clearly taking away these privileges, these benefits from these people. And there's so much we can do. We can support legislation and we can share our voices about it. The biggest thing is that we have to stand up for marital rights for disabled people. Thank you.